Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Scouting 5, recapping scouting news from around the world for the week of October 21st, 2024. I'm Scouter Ken, and I'm once again recording from St. Albert, Alberta. It has again been a while since I've done one of these, so I'm not going to touch on all of the news articles that I saw. If you've been following any of the news sources, whether it's scout.org or Scouts Canada website, Scout Association UK, or just in the news in general, you may have seen something that I didn't, and if you think that it's something that I should echo on this show, please bring it to my attention. ScoutingStuffPodcast.com, hit up the contact form. But among these stories that I did see, one of the common themes that comes up fairly regularly in these news episodes is disaster relief. And it will not surprise that, once again, scouts around the world have been responding to disasters. But in this case, I'm not talking about a disaster in any one particular spot, but rather a new initiative from the World Organization of the Scouting Movement to help prepare scout associations around the world who may be in a position to respond to disasters to, well, be better prepared to respond to disasters. And so it's a fundraising appeal, quoting scout.org. Scouts around the world have united in an extraordinary effort to support communities devastated by disasters and conflict. In response to catastrophic floods and displacement in Central Europe, Sudan, and Bangladesh, World Scouting and the World Scout Foundation are supporting 3 appeals for urgent relief. Each appeal targets a specific region, ensuring that scouts can deliver critical aid and long-term recovery support, tailored to the unique needs of each affected community. End quote. If you follow the first link in the show notes today, you'll see a big Donate Now button at that point. And the 3 efforts that are being supported are, in Central Europe, the recovery from severe flooding caused by Storm Boris across Austria, Poland, Czechia, Slovakia, Germany, and Hungary. In the Sudan, response to torrential rains and floods that have displaced many thousands of people. And then also in Bangladesh, flash floods from storms. So again, 3 different efforts you can donate to. You will find a link in the show notes to do just that. Last month, Libya hosted the Arab Scout Moot. Quoting, again, scout.org. Libya has faced many challenges in recent years, an armed revolt in 2011 and the devastating impacts of Storm Daniel in 2023, to name a few. Despite these challenges, it remains a country of resilience and hope, as showcased when it hosted the 22nd Arab Scout Moot from 7 to 18 September 2024. The event, organized by the Arab Scout region, with the General Movement of Scouts and Guides of Libya in partnership with the Ministry of Youth, marked a historic moment for scouting in Libya. Not only was it the first time that a prominent regional event had been held in the country for over 20 years, but it also saw the very first participation of the Somali Scouts as observers. Over the course of 11 days, around 700 young people, aged 18 to 26, including 400 from Libya, with the remaining 300 coming from 10 other countries in the region, engaged in a rich and diverse program. Activities included seminars like youth leadership towards change and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, and technology and the scouting movement, New Horizons. Meanwhile, workshops organized by the Libyan Scouts and Guides movement saw participants develop key life skills through exciting maritime adventures, while also giving them opportunities to explore Libya's extraordinary cultural heritage and landscapes in the western locations of Joudim and Tripoli, the capital of Arab youth in 2024, and the eastern city of Benghazi. End quote. It's also worth noting that earlier this month, the Secretary General of the World Organization of the Scouting Movement stepped down. Quoting scout.org. The Secretary General of the World Organization of the Scouting Movement, Ahmad Al-Andawi, has announced that he will depart from his role at the end of October 2024, concluding a transformational tenure that has seen unprecedented growth in the history of the Scout movement. During more than 7 years of service, Al-Andawi led significant efforts to transform world scouting, expanding its global reach, deepening its impact, and positioning the organization for the future. With his service, World Scouting supported national scout organizations to reach a record 57 million members across 176 countries, and adopted bold new strategies to guide the Scout movement into the next decade. In a message to World Scouting's membership, Al-Andawi reflected on his tenure. My objective was to transform the way we work, expand our outreach, deepen our impact, and enable millions more young people in more countries to benefit from the transformative learning experiences in scouting. Today, I feel that my mission has been largely fulfilled, and that the timeline I set has allowed us to see meaningful change and chart a new chapter for our movement. End quote. And of course, we've talked about the efforts that scouts in other countries make to do massive cleanup projects. And here we have a story now from Ecuador, where scouts are doing, again, just that. Quoting once again, scout.org. The Analam Clan Scouts from Scout Group 5 Roland Phillips in Ecuador are part of a global movement called Scouts for SDGs, which mobilizes millions of young people in more than 170 countries to contribute to a more sustainable future. Through the Plastic Tide Turners Challenge, these young scouts seek to generate a positive impact on their community, focusing on the protection of beaches and marine biodiversity in the commune of Salango in the province of Manabi. The project aims to raise awareness of the importance of responsible tourism and the urgent need to reduce pollution to preserve marine life and its habitat. Salango has a 900 square meter coral reef that is not only home to many marine species, but also a stopover for humpback whales that migrate to this area every year. Inspired by the natural richness of the site, scouts have undertaken a series of activities that include writing informational materials to educate the community, visits to assess and clean the beaches, and creating visual content to be shared on social media to inspire others to join the cause. End quote. And kind of on the same topic, the Second European Sustainability Forum recently wrapped up in Greece, and European Scout organizations were well represented there. One last time, quoting scout.org. From October 16th to 20th, over 60 participants from 28 European countries gathered in Greece for the Second European Sustainability Forum. The event provided a platform for staff and volunteers from National Scout organizations and National Scout associations working on sustainable development to connect shared challenges and exchange best practices. The forum showcased numerous sustainability initiatives and programs implemented across Europe on local, national, and regional levels. It highlighted creative solutions to tackle pressing environmental issues and brought attention to Scouts' crucial role in driving change toward a more sustainable future. The program, which blended educational and operational approaches, addressed topics such as climate anxiety, calculating carbon footprints, and integrating sustainability into large-scale events. It also featured practical activities including creating beeswax wraps, making soap from used oil, and raising awareness of the presence of litter at beaches. End quote. Meanwhile, on the North American continent, the World Brotherhood Camporee recently wrapped up. Quoting the Daily Sentinel. After a one-year hiatus due to organizational problems, the annual World Brotherhood Camporee that alternates its location from year to year between Canada and the United States, this year took place at Wellesley Island State Park in the St. Lawrence River region. Scouts from Scouts Canada and Scouting America enjoyed the beautiful weather as they joined together in participating in a variety of activities. Troop 14, based out of the Clinton, New Hartford, Washington Mills area, fielded a large contingent of Scouts, with some crossing over to Wellesley Island on the Thousand Island Bridge, and a few others crossing via a retired Navy patrol boat now utilized as a water taxi. Both groups retreated to moonlit crossings under clear skies, with the reflection of the moon across the river. After finding their campsite and pitching their tents by headlamps and moonlight, they settled in for the night. The next day, the Scouts were greeted by another glorious day and practiced their scouting skills immediately, preparing breakfast and, of course, cleaning up afterwards before heading out to opening ceremonies with over 1,000 other participants. Throughout the day, Scouts could participate in a variety of activities, from archery to zipping around trading patches and getting to know other Scouts. Additionally, coinciding with the World Brotherhood Camporee this year was the Jamboree on the Air and Jamboree on the Internet. Originally, it was just Jamboree on the Air, but with the rise of the Internet, it has expanded. End quote. And on another note, I will be including a link to JOTA-JOTI in the show notes. That did just wrap up October 18th to 20th. I actually had the privilege of taking part in a similar camporee, much smaller scale, only about 100, maybe 150 youth, not 1,000. That took place near Devon, Alberta. It's put on every year by, I believe, one of the Leduc scout groups. And normally it is just a JOTA-focused camp. They bring out a ham radio club and they try and, take part in the Jamboree on the Air. They haven't really done a Jamboree on the Internet component before now. So I didn't originally plan to go. My wedding anniversary usually coincides with this weekend. So I tend not to think that I will be taking part too much in JOTA, even though I do encourage my scouts to do so. JOTI, rather. I don't usually do the JOTA thing, but I'm a big advocate for JOTI. And I have taken part in it in the past, and I actually was there at one of the first ones. And it is really, really fascinating to reach out and meet with scouts around the world over the internet using IRC, TeamSpeak, and now ScoutLink also runs Minecraft servers. But because my daughter was going to this camp, and because the weather forecast looked a little bit, my wife did ask me to actually go along to the camp. And then, we would celebrate our anniversary when I got home. And it was a good thing that I did go. But because I was going, I reached out to the organizers and offered to basically run the Jamboree on the Internet component, something they'd never done before. And so we found a space in the schedule for me to set up a small lab of computers outdoors, as it happens, just tethering off my phone or whatever and powering off of, if I could find a powered spot, then great. Otherwise, I would just use a generator or a battery backup or whatever I could. And so I ran that throughout the day and had all of the different youth come by and take part in a variety of conversations online. Some very nonsensical, some very deep and meaningful. So it's cool that they were actually able to incorporate that into the World Brotherhood Camporee as well. And like I say, I'll include a link to the JOTA-JOTI website in the show notes. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't put out another call for volunteers. The link in the show notes will come from the Lancashire Telegraph, but realistically, what they're asking for is something that pretty much any scout group, including a scout group in your area, wherever you're listening to this right now, probably needs and is probably asking for. So quoting the Lancashire Telegraph, Blackburn Scouts are asking for adults to be taken out of their comfort zone to help support growing numbers of children joining their groups. Since January 2022, the number of boys and girls involved in Scouts in Blackburn and the surrounding area has increased by 19%. These increases are applicable in all 5 areas, with the Scout and Explorer groups in need of more volunteers to keep up with the demand for places. There are opportunities for adults to volunteer to help with boys and girls in squirrels, beavers, cubs, Scouts, and Explorers. End quote. And like I say, that's just in the UK, but it's true everywhere. We need volunteers. We need lots of volunteers. Volunteer today, please. And finally, just because I was recently involved in a debate about membership fees online somewhere, actually it was during JOTA-JOTI, we were discussing membership fees, and so the differences between them in other countries. Canada's are quite high compared to many other countries. But it would appear that the Girl Scouts of the USA are also increasing their membership prices, and it's a 160% jump. I guess previously their dues were around $25, but starting in 2026 they will rise to $45 and then to $65 in 2027. Apparently, there was a proposal to increase them as high as $85, but that proposal was rejected. And as you can imagine, it's mainly to ensure that, the organization remains solvent and is able to continue developing and providing programs to its members. Same reason Scouts Canada raised its fees this year, and Scouting America as well. But it does put more pressure on families who have multiple kids in the program. And so there is a real tension there regarding the fees and what they cost each year. It's a lot less than some sports, but that doesn't necessarily make it any easier to absorb when your bottom line is pretty thin. Anyway, that's all the news I have for you this week. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, be prepared.